All right. What's good? What's good? This is Stormy B Man, and I'm back with a little late night stream. Stormy B Man, a little restless. I haven't been sleeping well, so I just got on here and thought I'd come out and have a little boxing talk with some vampires if y'all out there. So I know it's some vampires out here. You know, people, they don't get up until the sun go down. You know, so I'm out here. Um, that's what I'm. That's what I'm trying to do. You know, just keep myself a little busy. Maybe I'll get a little tired eventually. But nonetheless, I'm out here. So, boxing conversations with Reggie Owens. You said there's no video, Reggie, or you can hear me. Yeah, the audio I know is playing back, but on my end, it's saying please stand by for the video. But I have it also on a different device, and I'm seeing video. So I don't understand what you guys are seeing. So I need you to tell me what it is that you're seeing on your screen. If you're not seeing anything on the screen, just let me know. Put a 1 in the chat box, and I can change something while we're live. But if you see video, if you see the guy doing the mitt work, that's all good. No, I am not on the screen as of yet, but I did put my I put my imagery up as my guy doing doing the mitts. So you do see the guy doing the mitts, right? If you see the guy doing the mitts, that's what I want you guys to be able to see. That was what's supposed to be, you know, on the video. But on my end, for my broadcast through the YouTube, it says please stand by. So that's the first time that ever did that. So, okay, that means that we're good to go. We're good to go. So I'm out here this evening, and I know you guys like to sometimes see my little imagery up there, so I put that up there, and then I just put myself up there on the screen as well. So just on here to do a little late night conversation. My man Reggie, you out there? I caught your little update on Gavatsky, and it's unfortunate that this young man ran into the problems that he ran into. Hope that he has a healthy recovery, but that's not cool at all, you know. Knowing how the trainer could have also stepped in and done some things, you know, but he didn't. So, hey Reggie, if you want to hop on with me, you can, unless you're busy doing something else. Because this stream, I'm just calling it, you know, knockdown, drag out bouts, you know, that we can recall and have conversations about. Through the history of boxing, there have been occasions where fights have taken certain turns that the viewing public and audiences may not have expected it to go, you know, that route, where they get into brawls and turns into something that's like an all-out, bang-out affair. So just thought I'd bring that subject up, and we can talk about that a little bit. It doesn't have to be anything of any particular note, but just what fascinates you about when fights do take that turn. So as we get our people coming on in, smash that like button, please. You come in, smash the like button. see what we got here. I'm going to start out with Gigi was out there. He said salute at Stormy B, man. King Louis was out there. He said salute family. Salute to you, brother. Darnell Kirkland is out there. He says I see the mid. All I see is the mid intro. Okay, that was good. Reggie is out there. Derek Bailey says salute Stormy B, man. Darnell Kirkland says I can hear you now. Yeah, I wait a little bit. I always give Darnell on my streams, I like to let the music play a little bit. That gives people a chance to catch notifications and things like that, and then I'll come in after a minute or two, and that's done by design. So whenever you hear that music playing like that, I just give it a chance to let people know that I've gone live, because if sometimes you go live, you start talking right away and this and that, and you got people coming in a little bit after that, and they're like, what y'all talking about, and you know, all that kind of stuff. So I just try to let it play a little bit. Plus, I'm a music person. I like music. I like to listen to it a little bit, and I always try to play a little something catchy. You know, Stormy B, man, got eclectic taste on his music, so I play some things like, I know some of y'all like that rhythm and thump and bump and all of that, but, I like jazz, I like funk, you know what I mean? I'm an old school guy because I'm an older guy, so I like to ride with that kind of music, and I try not to. I would love to use some licensed music that everybody know and stuff like that, but I don't want to go through the headaches of copyright issues and all of that foolishness, so I try to do it this way, you know what I mean? So Andrew Charles is in there. He said audio is good here. I see the mid work. Darnell Kirkland says all good. Reggie is saying yes. And Reggie is saying I'm writing while listening to the stream, OG. Okay, that's cool, bro. And Derek Bailey is out there. Salute. And Darnell Kirkland says that Bossa Nova track is fire. Yeah, thanks, man. I try to keep it, a little boogie woogie. You know what I mean? So, yeah, talking about knockdown dragouts, man, in boxing. Sometimes fights turn into knockdown dragouts when you least expect it. You know what I mean? I mean, who can remember such classics like Diego Corrales and Jose Luis Castillo, fights like that. You know what I mean? Or Julio Cesar Chavez and what's his name? Frankie Randall. That's a classic that I like to revisit from time to time, because that was at the height of the controversial consideration for Chavez as being pound for pound, and the controversy was that most people felt like Pernell Whitaker was pound for pound at that time, but the powers that be saw to, consider Chavez, meaning Ring Magazine and stuff like that. But Frankie Randall, who happened to be in the Don King stable of fighters at the time, finally got a title shot after being mired and fighting in undercard matches where very, very little or few viewership had a chance to see him go about his craft. And Frankie Randall was an orthodox boxer puncher, nicknamed the Surgeon. Therefore, he used to come out there in those teal-colored boxing gear, mimicking the teal-colored surgeon outfits. And, he had a surgeon mask he would wear to the ring. But Frankie could box, he had a hell of a pop on his right hand. And in his first showdown against Chavez, Randall was out there, and he was performing admirably, because Chavez, the heavy favorite, and everybody just knew Chavez would stop Randall late. Or at least that was the consensus. But I'll tell you something. As the rounds progressed, it was similar to Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson. Not in the sense that Chavez was getting dominated or anything like that, but Frankie Randall was winning rounds, and he was winning them in a obvious manner. It was not like, oh, that's a close round. I mean, he was literally winning rounds. And he started dropping that right hand on Chavez and giving Chavez something to think about. And that fight is a classic. But it ended up with Randall defeating Chavez, you know. And he dropped Chavez, and I think it was the last round, or it was in the later part of the fight. It was within the last 3 rounds. He dropped Chavez. Chavez was following him around, and he threw a 1-2, boop, boop, right down the middle on Chavez's chin, and Chavez went on the flat of his ass for the first time in his career. And I still remember Steve Albert's call on it. Oh, down goes Chavez. It's like, what a beautiful thing. Shout out to Frankie Randall, man. I don't know what's happening with him. Haven't followed him after boxing, but I loved it. You know, put Chavez on his ass, man. That was good. And then won the fight too, you know. So that was a little piece of history there. That fight was actually a good fight, man. A very good fight. Iceberg Nerd is out there. He says salute. King Louis says smash the like button. Yeah, smash the like button, people. And Black Ham TV is out there. He says peace. What's good with you, Black Ham? So, yeah, we're going to talk about some knockdown dragouts, you know. You guys can put in the chat knockdown dragouts that you remember, you know. I remember a little gem that was Michael Moorer and Burt Cooper. Michael Moorer had moved up to the heavyweight division after being the WBO light heavyweight champion and just basically smoking everybody at light heavyweight. So he came up to the heavyweight division, and he began to face some of the top guys in the heavyweight division. He fought the likes of Alex Stewart. He fought Burt Cooper. There was a big, tall heavyweight, Michael. I think it was Michael Johnson. I think it was, but I don't remember the guy's name right now. But he was a big, almost 7-foot guy, 6'8", 6'9", and Michael Moorer was basically following Evander Holyfield's tracks, you know, and he had a real knockout punch at light heavyweight, and he carried some of that power up to heavyweight, but he didn't take a punch as well as he gave one at heavyweight. It wasn't a problem at light heavy, but his fight with Burt Cooper is a classic, man. You know, Burt Cooper was the truth, man. You go in there against that brother, if you belong, you got it on with him. If you didn't belong, Burt Cooper would overwhelm you, man. I remember his war with Ray Mercer, another knockdown drag out, you know. But before I go on to that one, I could go with the one with Cooper and Michael Moorer. That fight opened up. It was on the TVKO undercard. And these two guys in the first round, Michael Moorer was being aggressive, you know, going in on Cooper. And Cooper had this little sneaky overhand right he would throw on the inside. Because he was under the tutelage of Joe Frazier initially, when he was at cruiserweight, people remember Cooper as being a left hooker, you know. But his right hand, he had a sneaky, quick right hand that he could throw. He could throw it straight, he could throw it overhand. And he caught Michael Moorer with that right hand. and he opened up on Michael Moore and put him down on the canvas. And Michael Moore looked like he was out. It was going to be a first round stoppage because he sagged to his knees and he was kind of out of it as the ref was standing there counting. And he woke up and he kind of stood back up and, went back into the fray. And shortly before the bell rang for the first round, he put Cooper down with a succession of punches in combination that had Burt Cooper fall flat back on his back. And thus began the war. These two brothers was fighting, man, like they was fighting over the last piece of Popeye's chicken sandwich or something. I don't know. And there were two more knockdowns in the fight, one each. And Moore went on to a TKO stoppage over Cooper, but it was very reminiscent of a fight earlier in boxing in the mid-'70s where Ron Lyle and George Foreman fought, and they called that the elevator fight because those two guys were putting each other on the canvas several times, and George Foreman ended up coming out victorious. But Ron Lyle was no joke, man. That brother was in there. He wasn't afraid of George Foreman, and he was putting it on him. You know what I mean? So, but this Cooper and Moore fight was almost, it was almost per script, the same fight. It was just two different men, but at heavyweight. What an exciting fight. If you guys haven't had the pleasure of enjoying that fight, it's on YouTube, I'm certain. Just check it out. Burt Cooper and Michael Moore, or Michael Moore versus Burt Cooper. A real knockdown, drag out, And it's like when the guys go down in that fight, you start laughing. I'm laughing recalling it because it was the way it happened. It's like they both went in with reckless abandon. And, as a heavyweight, hell, it takes just one shot to put somebody out or on their ass. And they both went down, man. And I don't know how Burt Cooper took these uppercuts in his career without getting a broken jaw. This man was susceptible to the uppercut. Holyfield hit him with some ridiculous uppercuts. Michael Moore did too. That was what finished him with Michael Moore. I think Michael Moore had a little more power than Evander Holyfield. But he didn't commit to his punches at heavyweight like he did at light heavy. So, but Sheldon Holmes is out there. He says, OG Stormy B, man, and family, what up, though? What up with you, Sheldon Holmes? Derek Bailey is saying salute at Black Ham, and King Louis Boxing is laughing. Yeah, man, these fights are a trip. These up and down, knockdown, drag outs, man. I love them, man. I love them because that's the extra seasoning on the fight game right there. When you get those kind of fights, and just because a guy go down, that don't mean the fight is over. He gonna get up and get back at the opponent. And those are the best ones, man. When they the ebb and flow. It's like these guys giving as good as they get, Great stuff, man. Great stuff. And I love it, man. Sheldon Holmes says, I remember as a kid watching Michael Moore at LHW on USA Tuesday Night Fights. He was the most devastating puncher ever seen in that weight class. Yeah, man. Michael Moore was like dangerous. This guy, Artur Beterbiev, he might be the most dangerous puncher at light heavyweight since Michael Moore. Ironically, we're on the heels of this fight from last night, but I would be pressed to say that I don't know that there was a light heavyweight since Michael Moore who was so dangerous. I mean, Michael Moore was damn near killing guys with shots, and he was evil. I mean, evil. When he was a light heavyweight, Michael Moore was a mean SOB, man. He did not, and I think it was because he was basically draining himself to make that weight. He was a legitimate heavyweight, but he wasn't a big heavyweight. He was a small heavyweight, meaning like Michael Moore probably walked around about 210, 215 when he wasn't training, you know. And when he went down to light heavyweight, he lost all that weight to fight at that weight, you know. And maybe 205 was his walk around weight. But when he got to heavyweight, he had some fights where that mean streak would come out, but it was nothing like when he was at light heavy. I mean, he was basically seeking and destroying guys. A brutal fighter, you know. Derek Bailey says, facts at Sheldon Holmes. He says all his fights at light heavy was KOs. Yeah, he had a huge streak going too. I think it was something like 28-0 or something like that before he decided to move up. And I remember listening to Emmanuel Stewart talk about Michael Moore one time, because he stayed at, when he trained, he stayed at Emmanuel's house in the basement. And he'd come up to eat and stuff, and he might watch a little TV, but Emmanuel Stewart said he was like a beast. He would be down there in the dungeon, meaning the basement, rattling chains. He didn't want to socialize or talk to people too much or whatever. And believe it or not, Michael Moore had hair back then when he was at the light heavyweight division. He was one of them brothers that was losing his hair early on, so he just decided to go bald. But he wore a low haircut at, you know, back then, not completely bald, but shaved, you know, real close. And he was devastating, man. Devastating, you know. And let's say Derek Bailey says, you wouldn't include Bob Foster, Stormy? Hey, Derek, I wasn't saying that he was the best, you know, over guys. I was saying, like, you know, Bob Foster came much earlier than Michael Moore. But I was saying that this kid, Artur Bitterbeef, who fought last night, probably is the most devastating puncher at that weight since Michael Moore, you know, because Michael Moore was basically wiping guys like that. Now, Bob Foster did it in his day too, but I wasn't going back that far. I was just going back from, you know, to the early 90s when, you know, Moore was competing at that weight class. That's all. No slap at Bob Foster whatsoever. No. Bob Foster was a hell of a puncher at his weight. Tried to challenge a heavyweight a couple of times. Excuse me. But never took that power up to heavyweight. But at light heavy, man, Bob Foster was knocking guys unconscious just like Michael Moore was. So no, it wasn't in any disrespect on Foster. I do acknowledge his accomplishments. I just was simply equating that as of late, when we're looking at this kid, Artur Beterbiev, dude, he looks at every bit as devastating as Michael Moore looked back in when he was doing his thing. There's not a lot of guys, you know, in the sport that can, like, just captivate you like that with their power. I mean, Deontay Wilder, of course, we have him at the heavyweight division. But even as you look through the smaller weight classes going down from heavyweight, there are not a lot of guys performing in the sport right now who put you in mind of that devastating, you know, fight-ending power. It's like, who could you put out there like that? We have good punchers and heavy-handed guys, but we don't have any Julian Jacksons out there today, or, you know, guys like that. You know what I mean? But it's always good to see them, and we be looking for them because, man, that equalizer, man, that shot that could end a fight at any moment, that's one of the most dramatic moments in boxing. when things are going and you looking and you checking it out and you like, oh, and you stand up and you see the guy on the canvas. It's like, it's over. It's like, shit. Whoa, I love that, man. It's like, that's what makes it so exciting. So Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owen says, I was a fan of Michael Moorer. I thought he was good. He was a good fighter, but he would get lazy and not push himself in fights. Yeah, you talking about Michael at heavyweight. I believe that I believe that when he got to heavyweight, he did take his foot off the gas a little bit. But I also believe it came with a couple of the fights that he had, because he fought a couple of bruising, punishing fights with Burt Cooper and Alex Stewart. And he realized he had to take better care of himself at heavyweight, because, a heavyweight shot is definitely a shot that can hurt you really bad or get you out of there. So Michael became more cautious as a heavyweight. Sheldon Holmes says 28-0 with 28 KOs. Yeah, I thought it was something like that. I know it wasn't quite 30, but I thought it was 28 or 29. So thank you for that, Sheldon Holmes. I'm glad that my memory isn't totally gone. King Louis says, Sheldon Holmes, that's a crazy ass stat. Hey, King Louis, if you haven't had a chance to watch Michael Moorer, man, when he was a light heavyweight, see if you can Google him up on these YouTube channels and catch some of his light heavyweight fights, man. Dude was brutal. You think Mike Tyson was going through the heavyweight division? Nothing but look down one division, two divisions below where see what Michael Moorer was doing. And he was meaner than Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was just kind of good at what he did and powerful, but Michael Moorer was a mean SOB, man. I mean, he'll hit you in your face, man, at the press conference. He was mean. A mean brother, and could fight. And that's why I said in one of our streams, I forget who I was out there with talking, but I said Scarface didn't turn Moorer into a champion. Emmanuel Stewart is the guy that made him a champion. Coming up in that Kronk gym, he knew. Derek Bailey says that's probably why Emmanuel Stewart kept Hearns away from Moorer in the gym. Oh yeah, he would have killed Tommy Hearns, man. He would have killed Tommy Hearns. The only guys he probably couldn't kill in that gym were Mike McCallum, James Toney, and Gerald McClellan. Because all them guys they had every bit inside them what Michael Moorer had. But Tommy Hearns was not, he was a tall guy, broad shoulders, but he wasn't a heavy guy. Tommy, as one of his friends said in a comment talking to 78, he said he was very light in the ass. So he could be knocked out easily because he wasn't a big, imposing man. So, but that's what it was. Michael Moorer, dude, just go back and look at some film on Michael Moorer. I ain't talking about his heavyweight stuff. Some of his heavyweight fights were classics because they were knockdown dragouts. But when you look at him at light heavy, the WBO champion, dude, he was a monster. Okay? If he fought today, none of these guys could get past 6 rounds, 7 rounds with Michael Moorer. He was that devastating and could hit you with one punch knockout power at light heavyweight. So, Sheldon Holmes says him and Obakar was on the same cards because they fought out of Kronk Gym. Absolutely, Sheldon Holmes. And Obakar was in a knockdown drag out with your boy Felix Tito Trinidad. That fight right there, he hurt Trinidad early on, and Trinidad stepped it up to another level. He raised his game, and he was able to stop Obakar. But Obakar was a good young fighter, tough, had more heart than he had ability, but he was very good out of the Crunk Gym. One of my favorite TV fighters, man. When Tuesday Night Fights was on, loved watching Obakar. And then later he was on Don King undercards. Obakar was a great young fighter that never became, I don't think Oba became a world champion. He may have held intercontinental titles or those USBA titles, but I don't think he ever won an actual WBA, WBC, or IBF championship. I could be wrong, but I would have to look back into that, or somebody else could Google it right now while we're on and let me know. But I don't think he did. But when he fought Felix Trinidad, two young fighters in their primes, it was a good-ass scrap, man. And the only reason he really got knocked out by Trinidad is because Obakar didn't want to box. He wanted to fight. And Trinidad was the type of fighter you had to box him smartly and set him up, set traps and things like that. But you couldn't go in there and trade with him because Trinidad could really crack. He had a very good right hand and a devastating left hook. So that was another knockdown drag out between Felix Tito and Obakar. So D-Style Boxing is in the house. He says, Stormy B-Man. What's going on, D-Style, man? He says, grinding on late. Yeah, brother, I'm out here, man. And you know what, D-Style? I'm just trying to get my experience in, bro. Just trying to, I can't sleep. So I thought I'd do something constructive, like come out here and talk boxing with the family. Smash the like button while you're out there, people. And, as you see my subject there, knockdown dragouts. That's what we're talking about here. So, D-Style, if you got a few knockdown dragouts in your memory, and I'm sure you do, post them in the chat, man, so we could continue the conversation and explore the knockdown dragouts of boxing, man, because it's a lot of fun, talking about these kind of fights. He says, shout out to the chat. Wookie Wook is out there. He says, salute, Stormy. Just got home from work. Let's talk that talk, my brothers. Yeah, that's Wookie Wook, the CEO of Deathmatch Promotions there, Wookie Wook is like, when you talk about setting up fights and matchups and everything, he gonna put fighters in duel to the death matches. Like if you a fighter that's up and coming, you might be 3 or 4-0 or something like that. He want to put you in your next fight with Deontay Wilder. Wookie Wook ain't pulling no punches. He's like, you gonna either swim or drown if you fight on his cards. King Louis says, I'm going to after I finish watching Blood Purnell video. Yeah, man, Blood dropped that Purnell video this evening, and it's excellent. I love the graphics. I love how he put it together. Man, I wish Purnell was around to see the dedication that Blood put in for him, man. What wonderful work. What wonderful work. And what a wonderful fighter, man. I love Sweet Pea. And I love Sweet Pea when he was fighting. I'm not one of those guys who are Johnny come lately to Sweet Pea. I felt that when they took that fight away from him in France, when he was fighting Ramirez, Jose Luis Ramirez, they took it. He damn near won every round of that fight, and they gave a split decision to Ramirez. Purnell came back and fought that dude in Virginia, and he didn't win a round. He shut him out, and that's the way it should have went the first time around. But they never respected Sweet Pea. Never respected him. They respected Camacho and Chavez and some other guys, but they never wanted to give Sweet Pea his respect. But I always gave him his respect because he was a big man in a little body, and he had all the skills in the world in the sport of boxing. Sweet Pea was a hell of a fighter, man, and God bless him, and may God rest his soul, man. What a hell of a fighter. D-Style says Trinidad be getting knocked down early, then getting back up and beating dudes' asses. Yeah. Trinidad, I think him getting dropped early in fights had a lot to do with him probably making that weight, man, making that 147. Because, you know, when he kind of got up to the 154 and 160, that didn't happen as much, you know. But early on in his career it was happening, because Trinidad was probably a 154 pounder, really. But he fought at 147. But he was probably truly a 154 pounder. So Derek Bailey says, yeah, Oba lost to Trinidad, De La Hoya, and Ike Corte in title fights. Yeah, isn't that something, man? That such great fighters were around, that you had to go through a great fighter to become a champion. Whether he was a champion or not, you could have been both contenders, but you had to face each other to get to the Holy Grail. Nowadays, they create extra belts and titles for you so you don't have to fight the guy. And you can still say you the best because you got a trinket, but you never face that other guy across the street, as they saying nowadays. The other guy across the street. What the hell is across the street? We're all in one sport here. There's no street sides. It's just you in the same room. Why y'all trying to look for different exits and entrances? There's one door and one key to get out. The winner gets the key, and you can leave out. Leave the rest of the guys in the dungeon. Huh? Wookie Wook says, yeah, Deathmatch Promotions reporting live. Boy, I'm still laughing about that, Wookie Wook, man. You was talking about getting them guys in there to fight. You say, I just want to see some good fights, Stormy. And I'm with you on that, man. But don't put Jerron Ennis in there with the champs just yet. Let the young brother get some more experience under his belt, man. Because he's going to get there. He's going to be there. Sheldon Holmes, D-Style Boxer says, NABF, which was prestigious back then, as high as high as of a title that Oba won. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. The NABF or the Continental Americas belt. I knew it was one of those because he fought on Tuesday Night Fights, and a lot of times on Tuesday Night Fights, those were the championship titles that were available and fought for on that network. So, yeah. Sheldon Holmes says, OG, I can't stand Kovalev, but I hope he whooped the piss out of Canelo. Yeah, you know, I'll tell you, Sheldon Holmes, a lot of people are picking Canelo to win this fight, but the X factor in that fight is this point. Now, remember, you heard it from me first. Two things. Buddy McGirt, and if Kovalev respects Buddy McGirt to listen to his instructions. If those two things gel, Canelo going to hell. Okay? Just remember I said that. All right? But that's not a given, because Kovalev has a track record of not listening to his cornermen, and he has a track record of not, being doing his own thing. But you cannot deny that James Buddy McGirt could have him prepared and tell him exactly what he needs to do. If he does it or not, that remains to be seen. But that's it. If he does not, that gives Canelo a greater opportunity. But I'm telling you, if it's going the way it need to go and supposed to go, Buddy McGirt and Kovalev listening to Buddy McGirt are the key factors in that fight. The key factors. 100%. So, let's see. D-Style says, Oba could have been regular WBA champ if they had soups back then. No, he could have been a regular champ back then if he wasn't so courageous. You know, some guys are more courageous than they have ability. And that's detrimental to them in the sport. You kind of wish it was the opposite. Like, Tommy Hearns was more skillful than he was courageous. But the balance in that was when he was at his best skill-wise, he usually won. When he tried to be as courageous as he was skillful, he got defeated. You know, Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray Leonard, and Iran Barkley. But I'm telling you that that's the X factor in a lot of fights. When you talk about guys being too courageous for their own good, sometimes it pays to be smart. You know, in the streets they say sometimes you just have to walk away, but some guys can't walk away. They don't want to walk away. That's the guy that don't want to walk away or can't walk away end up, you know, in trouble, you know. But sometimes you walk away, you live to fight another day, you know, that kind of thing. And in boxing, that comes out with these guys who want to put their heart on the outside of their chest, you know. Use your brain. Use your brain. This right here can get you through. You know, that heart, you've already put that on display because you got between those ropes. Huh? And you do want to, at the end of the day, be taken care of well, have your faculties in order and things like that. So don't be stupid. Don't do foolish stuff. Huh? That's one of those things. So let's see what else we got here. Sheldon Holmes says, NABF and USBA to me back then was the equivalent as the regular title. Well, what happened when those guys, Sheldon, won those belts? The Freddie Pendletons and Obakars and those guys, when they, you know, Lamar Parks, when those guys fought and won those titles, it put them in a position to be considered for the world titleists, whoever was champion. And you know, you had guys like James, what was that guy? James, he was a 154 pounder, 147 pounder. I can't remember his last name. But men like that, they were always right around the championship level. Oscar got very fortunate because he should have had about 3 losses on his record, you know, that were definitive losses. I thought he lost to Corte. I thought that he lost to Whitaker. And then there was another fight that he fought that I felt like he lost. And this was way before he got to B-Hop and Trinidad. But there was about 3 fights that I thought that Oscar lost, man. And he got the favor of the judges. He had that popularity. He had a huge female following and all of that. It's like, you know, they milked that. They milked it to the tit, you know. D-Style Boxing says, I agree, Sheldon. Basically what it is. Sir Big Head is laughing out loud. What we got? Darnell Kirkland says, remember Buster Mathis versus Mike Tyson? Yeah, I remember that. I remember Corey Spinks. You know, Corey Spinks fought some good fights, man. You know, Kevin Kelly, the Flushing Flash. That's a good fighter. Kevin Kelly was in some knockdown dragouts. You know what I mean? Kennedy McKinney. Those guys, lower weight classes. You know, Kennedy McKinney and his fight with Marco Antonio Barrera. Great fight, man. Great fight. You want to see a good fight? Check out Kennedy McKinney and Marco Antonio Barrera. Marco Antonio Barrera had to go rethink his boxing life after facing Kennedy McKinney. You know? Good ass fights, man. Knockdown, drag out scraps. You know, Kevin Kelly's fight against Prince Nassim Hamed was a knockdown drag out there, you know? And Kevin Kelly could have won that fight. But another fighter, now his heart was greater than his skills. And he wore his heart outside of his chest, you know, with an extension on it. You know, Kevin Kelly was just that type of fighter, man. Just that type of fighter. So, E. Woodson says, what the fuck? I didn't get no damn notification. Well, I had it on preview for a long time there, E. Woodson, but salute to you anyway, brother. Chi-Town stand up. D-Style says, E. Woodson. And let's see what else we got here. Everybody else is greeting each other. Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens. He says, while watching Blood's Pernell Whitaker documentary, the fight between Cesar Chavez versus Ramirez has me tripping, where Richard Steele took a point for Chavez for the headbutt that stopped the fight. Yeah, man. Richard Steele was a questionable individual out there too. For a long time, he had a stretch where people really hated him, man, and how he officiated fights. The Meldrick Taylor situation, the Tyson versus Ruddick situation, the fight against Frankie Randall and Chavez. Yeah, Richard Steele had a horrible stretch there for a moment, man, in boxing. Just kind of wonder what the hell went down with that. E. Woodson says, I should be crashing the hell out for this double in the morning, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Chicago time. But I had to at least jump in and show love. Hey, I appreciate you, E. Woodson, man. You're always out there in my chats, man, giving me support, man. As Chi-Town love, man. I appreciate you, bro. Really do. Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens says, do you think that with some cheating shit going on, Richard is known as the in the pocket ref? Hey, quite possibly, man. Quite possibly. You know? E. Wilson says, damn, I could have been in here since at least 10:40 when I got back to the crib. I just checked my phone before I was about to crash. Lowland Prophet says, morning, Stormy. Yeah, Stormy is on late tonight, man. It's Saturday night, nothing else going on. And, you know, I couldn't sleep, so I just got on, wanted to talk about some knockdown dragouts in the sport of boxing, man. That's what I'm doing. Good to see you, Lowland. Sheldon Holmes says, man, how the fuck ESPN erased Loma lost? They really pushing some bullshit. Hey, man, this is why we have to talk about it. This is why we have to report on it. You know what I mean? We have to keep exposing it and uncovering it, man. The more they try to cover stuff up, the more we have the blowers to blow the dirt off of the surface. Huh? We need people to know what the truth is in boxing, man. We need people to know what the truth is. So, let's see here. I'm trying to read. The chat keep jumping up on me here. King Louis says, at Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens, I saw your video on old dude being held in the hospital. I was going to comment, but my grandma always said, if you don't have nothing good to say. Yeah, I feel you, King Louis. That dude Scarface, man. We have to, you know, hold him accountable for a lot of things outside of just his big mouth. Huh? Scarface. That's what I call him. Scarface. So, absolutely, bro. Absolutely. So, let's see here. Sheldon Holmes says Barrera versus McKinney. McKinney was the first boxing after dark. I know, man. And every fight after that for like the next 16 fights or so were great on that show, man. Boxing After Dark was something because it pitted the young guys up against each other. Nobody ducking, nobody like waiting in line for a title shot. They were just going in there, mixing it up, getting paid on a huge network that was HBO. And that was before HBO started investing in foreigners and skipping over acknowledging their domestic fighters. And that's why that show was number one, because Boxing After Dark became better than HBO Championship Boxing. That's how good it was. You know? Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens says King Louis just said in a smoother way with the same effect. Yeah. Yeah, what else we got here? Let's see. Eve Woodson says, salute to the whole Eye of the Storm chat. 100,000%. Hey, Eve Woodson, but this ain't in the Eye of the Storm, man. This is just a Stormy B-Man live stream, bro. So, this is not the Eye of the Storm, though. You know, I know you guys be thinking about the Eye of the Storm, but, you know, we have, you know, Stormy got more than one iron in the fire, bro. Boxing Conversation with Reggie Owens says, absolutely. Gotta stay on ESPN, lying asses. Yep. Andrew Charles says, most recently, with the Golovkin versus Chenko controversy aside, Triple G looked so bad in his corner after the 11th. His effort in the 12th was real warrior shit, even though I thought he lost. Man, Triple G wasn't no damn warrior, man. He wasn't. He wasn't. He was given several benefits during the fight, including one time when he was doubled over and the guy was going after him and the ref stepped in to give him a break and gave him about an extra 4 or 5 seconds. No. I ain't giving him a warrior status. Let him go over there and fight a Charlo or Andre or even a Billy Joe Saunders. Then we could see if he's a warrior. Huh? Let him do that. As long as you're going to keep running for the guys who's on your level or higher. He never even wanted to go up and try to challenge himself to face somebody at a different weight class. He never wanted to do that. Challenge yourself. Huh? That's a warrior. Stepping up to the challenge and meeting the challenge head on, seeking out the challenges. But no, this guy is trying to stumble his way back into boxing through a back or side door. It ain't happening, and I ain't giving it to him. Kevin Stenhouse says, salute Stormy in chat. What's good with you, Kevin? King Louis says, bro, how did ESPN do that shit? Like, you can look the dude up, shaking my head. Yep. Like, you can't look him up. Yeah. Big LT says, salute at Stormy B-Man and chat. Hashtag LDBC. Yes, sir. And E. Woodson says, ESPN is executive suckers punish narratives. Push narratives. Yeah, man. It's a shame. But those guys over there at ESPN, you know, we've been talking about it. Huh? We've been exposing it. We've been telling everybody that'll listen about what's happening with them. Hey, you know, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Andrew Charles says, dude, he was messed up after the 11th, is all I'm saying. I'm surprised he was able to finish the 12th. I ain't a Triple G fan. I got you. E. Wilson says, I'm just speaking my opinion. Real talk, damn it. Okay. We got you, bro. We got you. You know? Smash that like button, my people. Smash the like button. You know, we got some good stuff going on here this evening. So you guys, I mean, come on. Give me some more knockdown dragouts that you guys can recall. Don't make Stormy B, man, go into Alzheimer's trying to remember and recollect all of them by himself. This is a whole public chat thing we doing here. So some of you guys could put in the chat some knockdown dragouts that you recall. Let's see. We got King Louis says, I got a wrench request for the homie E. Woodson. Oh, absolutely, man. E. Woodson is one of the brothers that have, you know, always supported Stormy. So I have to show that love. You know. Let's see this. What we got? So I got E. Woodson is now wrenched up. What's going on, E? So you wrenched up, brother. Andrew Child says, dude. Oh, I read that one already. E. Woodson says, shout out to all of you brothers from the south side of Chi City. Yes, sir. King Louis says, smash the like button. Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owen says, show the like button some love. And DOG215 is out there. He says, Stormy B, what's happening? What's happening with you? DOG, good to see you, bro. I ain't seen you in a minute. Boxing Conversation with Reggie Owen says, Tim Bradley versus Provatnikov. Yeah, man. Now that one right there. Hey, I'm glad, Reggie. I'm glad you reminded me of that one, man. Because let me tell you something about that fight. Do you remember when Bradley got dazed severely in the fight? And then as Provatnikov went after him and had Bradley up against the ropes and he was digging at Bradley and he was digging and Bradley was on the ropes fighting him off like this. He looked like he was trying to swat away a whole mass of mosquitoes. He was like, there was no power on them shots at all. Bradley was just moving his arms and his chin was way up in the air, but Provatnikov couldn't take advantage because Bradley was going for it, boy. He was like swinging and swinging. He was like, get back, get off me, get off me. Dude, I was cracking up when that fight was live. I was like, look at Bradley. Man, I'm glad you brought that up, man. I was laughing so hard at that when it happened live. I was like, shit. And then to hear Bradley say after the fight, man, he was like, man, I was just trying to survive. That shit was funny as hell. That's good stuff, man. See, that's what I'm talking about. Thanks for reminding me of that one, Reggie, because that fight was funny as hell, man. Kevin Stenhouse says, next week is a big week in the landscape of boxing. In 2020, with the WBC convention, 135 pounds, 147 pounds, 160 pounds. Yes, sir. King Louis says, E. Woodson, you know you family. That's right. E. Woodson is family. Boxing Conversation with Reggie Owen says, Gotti versus Ward. Castillo versus Diego Corrales. Yeah, I mentioned that one early, Reggie, about Diego Corrales and Castillo. But that Gotti versus Ward, that first fight, man, I'm going to tell you something. Mickey Ward had one of the best left hooks to the liver in boxing history. And he finally got that damn punch in on Arturo Gotti during their fight. He threw a double left hook. He threw one up top and the second one down low. And that one down low to the liver, boy, it doubled over Arturo Gatti, you thought somebody had stuck him with a knife, man. He was trying to hang on. He was trying to protect himself. He wouldn't go down, but he was like, and Ward was opening up on him, and Gotti was trying to survive. Man, that was a good one there. Thanks for that one too, Reggie. You know, that fight right there was definitely a highlight in the knockdown drag out pantheon of boxing. Those two guys did it so well they had to mix it up a couple of more times. Ward and Gotti. And they became very good friends afterwards too. That was a real one for history, man. That fight, you could watch the Ward Gotti fight in black and white, man. Think you watching the fight from the 50s. Really. Those two old guys going at it. You know? That was really special. That was really special. You know what I mean? So. Yes, sir. We have a wealth of fight and experiences here where you see the knockdown dragouts being put on display, man. A wealth of experiences. Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens says Bradley versus Provodnikov is one of the greatest fights I have ever seen. It was definitely high drama. Definitely. E. Wilson says, I need to crash, but I'm going to try to be in y'all's chats since I'm going to be at work all damn day. All right, E. Wilson, man. Salute to you. Have a good night, brother. And enjoy that wrench, bro. You're part of the family. Kevin Stenhouse says, mandate Loma versus Haney. Mandate Ugas versus Danny Garcia so we could get Porter versus Spence 2. And mandate Charlo versus Andrade, Triple G, and Canelo. Great suggestions right there, bro. Great suggestions. I couldn't argue with you at all. Sheldon Holmes says, Shane versus Oscar was one hell of a fight. Yes, it was. That first one. DOG 215 says Holyfield both of them. Yeah, but DOG, they fought 3 times. And King Louis Boxing says, is that Gotti fight where Gotti got his eye closed? No, King Louis, the fight where Gotti got his eye closed was against Wilson Rodriguez. Check that one out. That's a knockdown drag out. I think that was also a Boxing After Dark fight as well. But Arturo Gotti versus Wilson Rodriguez. Rodriguez was putting it on him. And fucking Gotti pulled a rabbit out of a hat, man. What a fight. That's all I'm going to say about that one. You got to go and watch it for yourself, and you can come back and thank me later. That's real boxing right there. E. Wilson says, I live at work. My girl be thinking I'm lying, saying I'm with some dusty chick until she see the damn paycheck. Yeah, E. Wilson, that's what they do, man. Insecure women, but they don't mind spending your money though, or mind you spending your money. Huh? Boxing Conversation with Reggie Owens says, oh, don't forget Saad Muhammad versus Yaki Lopez 1 and 2. Oh yeah. And Ron Lyles versus George Foreman. Yes, sir. And Sheldon Holmes says McGirt versus Whitaker 1 was a good one. Absolutely. D-Style Boxing says Morales versus Barrera 1. Yes, sir. Hey, D-Style. that Morales versus Barrera 1, when I was watching that fight live, dude, I was sitting there on him, and then Morales came back and pushed Barrera back with a fuselage of punches. Dude, that was a teeter-totter fight. It was exciting. The two dudes didn't like each other, and man, were they going back and forth. What a great fight that was. And I sat there that night, man. I was so hyped after watching that fight. I was like, these two guys put it on tonight, man. Morales and Barrera. What a great fight. And Morales, Barrera and Kevin Kelly. Yes, sir. Good fights, man. Good fights. King Louis says, bet he gonna check out those fights. Gigi says, at Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens, remember Goosen telling Corrales, you got to get inside on him now, and he sure did. Yes, sir. That's what even makes it greater. When you hear trainers give the fighter a certain message or whatever, and then they go out and the fight has a climax like it ended up having, that's what puts it in history, man. That's what really cements it as something special. You know, great stuff, man. Great stuff. You know. So, yeah. Andrew Charles says, good night and peace to the chat and Stormy B, man. Good night to you, Andrew. Appreciate you being out there, bro. And, you know, this has been, you know, a great conversation, you know, talking about these fights, man, the knockdown dragouts. I'll probably do a series of these streams, you know, knockdown dragouts, the recollection of it. Yeah, D-Style says, I'm calling it a night. Peace out, Stormy B, man. So am I, D-Style, about to sign off myself, bro. So, let me say this, brothers. It's been great, you know, recalling these knockdown dragouts. But as it is getting late, and I don't want the audience to just fall off, I want to give you guys a chance to go and enjoy the rest of your night. Whether you're going to bed, you're going out, whatever it is you're going to do. You know, Stormy B, man, know how to, you know, keep it brief, you know, not go too long with you guys. But I want to say thanks to everybody that came into the chat, left likes and comments, and contributed to the show this evening. Really appreciate you guys. It's always fun to get on here and chop it up with you guys, especially when you're interacting in the chat like tonight. That makes it more fun. We can laugh. We have a good time. And I just look forward to doing more with you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off for this evening. Say shout out to the LDBC, all the Lions Den boxing community members. You guys out there going strong. I'll see you guys again very soon. This is Stormy B, man. And I'm signing off for the evening. Have a good night.